What does it mean to be useful when your very existence defies reason? In Reborn as a vending machine, I now wander the dungeon episode 6, released on August 6, 2025. The air is thick with the metallic tang of coins and the faint hum of a machine's quiet defiance. This episode, a curious blend of absurdity and aching sincerity, feels like pressing your hand against cold steel, hoping to find a heartbeat. As Boxo, the sentient vending machine, and his steadfast companion Lammies navigate a world that's equal parts perilous and peculiar, I was struck by a question that lingers like the aftertaste of a fizzy soda. Can something as mundane as a machine carve out a purpose in a world built for heroes? Nestled in the second season's exploration of the dungeon's deeper strata, this episode is a vibrant, heartfelt oddity that dares to make you care about a vending machine's soul. Episode 6, titled The Vending Machine's Burden, follows Boxo and Lammies as they venture into a new dungeon level plagued by scarcity. After Episode 5's cliffhanger, where Boxo's cryptic warning hinted at a looming threat, this installment sees the duo aiding a struggling settlement. Boxo's ingenuity is tested as he dispenses unconventional items to solve a food crisis, while Lammies grapples with her role as his protector. The introduction of a skeptical hunter, Kirioil, challenges their dynamic, forcing Boxo to confront his limitations. The episode builds toward a tense confrontation, weaving humor and heart into a narrative that deepens the stakes of their journey. Episode 6 advances the narrative by shifting focus from exploration to survival, grounding the series' whimsical premise in a more urgent context. The settlement's food shortage, introduced early, sets up Boxo's role as an unlikely savior, dispensing preserved foods and purified water to sustain the community. A key twist, revealed through a clever use of Boxo's abilities, reframes his purpose, while a cliffhanger involving Kirioil's motives teases future conflicts. The pacing is deliberate, balancing comedic gags with moments of tension, though the middle segment lingers on setup. Fan discussions on platforms like Reddit have questioned Boxo's seemingly limitless inventory, a cloudy aspect clarified by the light novel, Volume 2, Chapter 10, which explains that his stock is tied to items he purchased in his past life, limited by memory and points. This constraint, subtly hinted at in the anime, roots his abilities in a bittersweet logic, enhancing the narrative's depth. The episode aligns with the manga's Chapter 15, where the settlement's plight foreshadows a larger dungeon-wide crisis, setting up Season 2's broader arc. Boxo, voiced by Jun Fukuyama, remains a paradox, a sentient machine with a human heart. His internal monologue, laced with self-deprecating humor, reveals a growing fear of obsolescence, especially when Kirioil dismisses him as a novelty. This vulnerability marks a shift from his earlier confidence, showing a machine grappling with its purpose. Lammies, carried by Kate Hondo's vibrant performance, evolves from a cheerful sidekick to a protector wrestling with guilt over her physical strength, which she fears overshadows Boxo's contributions. Her decision to prioritize his safety over her pride is both consistent and transformative, deepening their bond. Kirioil, introduced as a pragmatic foil, hints at hidden motives, his skepticism masking a past loss detailed in the web novel's Chapter 117, which the anime teases but doesn't fully explore. The episode probes the tension between utility and identity, asking whether purpose defines worth. Boxo's struggle to be more than a tool mirrors universal anxieties about relevance in a world that demands constant reinvention. Lammies' conflict, balancing strength with vulnerability, explores the cost of selflessness, a theme the light novel ties to her backstory of loss, Volume 1, Afterward. The settlement's desperation underscores survival as a collective act, with Boxo's mundane offerings becoming acts of quiet heroism. These ideas manifest in small gestures, a coin dropped with gratitude, a shared meal under flickering torchlight, making the philosophical weight feel deeply human. The new dungeon level, a barren cavern with dwindling resources, expands the world's stakes, contrasting the lush lakeside of earlier episodes. The light novel, Volume 2, reveals the stratum as a testing ground for dungeon dwellers, a detail the anime subtly reinforces through environmental cues like cracked stone and sparse vegetation. Kirioil's mention of a dungeon hierarchy hints at a governing system, enriching the lore without overwhelming the narrative. This addition complicates the world, suggesting a structure beyond random monster encounters. The script shines in its restraint, letting Boxo's pre-recorded phrases, "Thank you for your purchase," carry surprising emotional weight through context. Lammies' earnest declarations, like, "You're more than just a machine to me," avoid cliches by grounding her sincerity in action. Kirioil's sharp, dismissive barbs add tension, though some expository lines feel heavy-handed. The writing excels in blending humor with pathos, particularly in a scene where Boxo's internal monologue overlays a silent act of kindness, resonating long after the credits. Studio Gokumi and Asahi deliver a functional but evocative visual visual palette. The settlement's muted grays and browns contrast with Bakso's sleek, vibrant exterior, symbolizing his role as a beacon of hope. Fluid animations during Lammy's action scenes highlight her strength, while static shots of Bakso emphasize his immobility, a visual metaphor for his internal struggle. The use of soft lighting in a communal meal scene creates a warm, intimate glow, amplifying the episode's heart. Director Takashi Yamamoto employs tight close-ups on Bakso's display to convey his emotions, a clever workaround for his lack of expressiveness. The confrontation with Kirioil uses dynamic angles, low shots of Lammy's towering over foes, contrasted with high angles on Bakso's vulnerability, to mirror their dynamic. The editing rhythm, brisk during action but lingering on quiet moments, amplifies the emotional stakes, though some transitions feel abrupt. Tomoki Kikuya's score is a playful blend of jazzy riffs and gentle strings, with the opening Mirai Cider by Bradio setting an upbeat tone. The ending, Boku Dake no Chihaizen by Aina Aiba, carries a melancholic lilt that echoes Bakso's longing. Silence is used masterfully during a pivotal moment, letting the clink of coins and Lammy's steady breathing speak louder than music. The soundtrack feels like a companion, underscoring the episode's blend of whimsy and weight. Jun Fukuyama's Bakso is a triumph, infusing stock phrases with nuance. His welcome shifts from cheerful to desperate, conveying a machine soul. Keed Hondo's Lammy's is a whirlwind of warmth and resolve, her voice cracking with emotion in key scenes. Kazuya Nakai's Kirioil, with his gruff, skeptical tone, adds depth to a character who could have been one note. Each performance elevates the script, making even a vending machine feel achingly human. This episode left me caught between laughter and a quiet ache, like the fizz of a soda you know will go flat. There's a moment, veiled to preserve its magic, where a simple act of kindness becomes a collision of trust and sacrifice, shifting the dynamic between Bakso and Lammy's. I felt their bond, their fear of being left behind, their desperate need to matter. The episode asks, what does it mean to be useful when you're bound by what you are? It's a question that lingers, as persistent as the hum of a machine in the dark. Using the reverse reading technique, I note the episode's flaws. The middle segment's pacing drags, and the animation, while evocative, lacks the polish of bigger budget shows. Yet, these reflect the series' charm. Its modest visuals prioritize character over spectacle, and the slower pace mirrors the settlement's stagnation, a deliberate choice to ground the absurdity. Kirioil's introduction feels abrupt, but the manga suggests he's a long-term catalyst, justifying the setup. The episode's heart outweighs its stumbles, delivering more depth than its premise suggests. Reborn as a vending machine, I Now Wander the Dungeon Episode 6 is a testament to the power of the absurd, weaving humor, heart, and humanity into a story about a machine that dares to dream. Its strengths, vivid characters, clever writing, and emotional resonance overshadow its modest visuals and occasional pacing hiccups, crafting an experience that's as refreshing as a cold drink on a hot day. This isn't just a tale of a vending machine, it's a mirror for anyone who's ever felt stuck yet yearned to be more. Will you join Bakso and Lammy's in their dungeon, where every coin dropped is a step toward purpose? Watch and let the ordinary become extraordinary. What price would you pay for the one soul that makes your world spin? The betrayal of strangers, the shattering of trust, or the quiet erosion of your own humanity? In Reborn as a vending machine, I Now Wander the Dungeon Episode 7, released on August 13, 2025, the dungeon's damp air carries the faint, earthy scent of hidden growth, mingled with the sharp tang of desperation, like roots clawing through stone in search of light. This episode, unfolding in the fragmented aftermath of the series' invasion arc, feels like a whisper from the shadows, intimate, unsettling, and laced with the promise of revelations that redefine existence. I was drawn into its web, pondering the fragility of bonds, yet left yearning for the fractures it only begins to trace. Titled The Girl and the Field, Episode 7 picks up from the scattering caused by the sabotage transfer circle in Episode 6, focusing on Bakso's group in the labyrinth stratum as they seek resources to return home. A new character emerges, bringing tales of another reincarnated entity and a quest fraught with moral quandaries. Meanwhile, glimpses of Lammy's unyielding determination to reunite with Bakso highlight her willingness to brave perils. Light-hearted rivalries intermingle with heavier disclosures, bridging the group's immediate survival needs with broader existential queries, propelling the narrative toward potential alliances or conflicts. Episode 7 deftly advances the main narrative by expanding the Isekai lore, introducing a parallel reincarnation story that mirrors Bakso's own, while heightening the tension of the group's separation. Key revelations unveil the existence of multiple object-based reincarnations, with one tied to a powerful entity capable of challenging greater threats, culminating in a twist that questions loyalties amid the Netherlord's shadow. The pacing strikes a harmonious balance, weaving comedic interludes with introspective moments, though it accelerates through backstory inventory dumps to maintain momentum. Dramatic equilibrium is achieved through alternating urgency, resource hunts in the labyrinth with quieter reflections, ending on a cliffhanger that teases ethical crossroads. Cloudy aspects, such as the new character's ambiguous intentions toward the Netherlord and whether her quest could lead to betrayal, have fueled fan inquiries on platforms like Reddit, where viewers debate if desperation justifies alliance with villains. The light novel, Volume 4, Chapter 2, sheds light here, elaborating that her motivations stem from a protective bond rather than malice, framing her dungeon venture as a calculated infiltration to exploit the Netherlord's power without full submission. This provides deeper context. Unlike the anime's veiled hints, the novel details her ability to commune with her reincarnated counterpart as a strategic asset, resolving confusion by portraying her not as a potential antagonist but as a reluctant opportunist, enriching the animated segment's moral ambiguity without spoiling future arcs. Boxo remains a silent beacon of adaptability, his growth evident in resourceful interactions that reveal a deepening sense of camaraderie, his dialogue of vending phrases consistent yet surprisingly emotive in competition. Lammy's embodies raw psychological depth, her hidden wounds from loss manifesting in reckless choices, transformative in their intensity, as she evolves from cheerful carrier to a force willing to defy dangers for connection. The new arrival, Kikoyu, unveils layers of quiet resolve, her motivations rooted in unwavering loyalty to her otherworldly partner, her decisions surprising in their vulnerability, echoing Boxo's own isolation but with a communicative ease that highlights his relational struggles. The episode delves into the torment of unbreakable bonds and the morality of sacrifice, probing whether love justifies peril to others. This surfaces in Kikoyu's quest, where her drive to reunite mirrors Lammy's desperation, forcing characters to confront survival's cost, not as abstract power but as intimate choices, like risking allies for a whisper of reunion. Hope battles despair in these struggles, manifesting as Lammy's defiant leaps or Boxo's steadfast provisions, echoing universal queries. How far do we bend ethics for those who define us? New lore on reincarnated entities as sentient landscapes enriches the universe, introducing barriers erected by higher powers like the Demon Lord, complicating the dungeon's strata with interdimensional politics. This adds depth, transforming the world from mere labyrinthine peril to a tapestry of cosmic migrations, where objects wield influence akin to heroes, heightening the stakes of invasion. The script is sharp and layered, with lines like "please" for understanding carrying foreshadowing weight, resonating long after as echoes of moral dilemmas. Some exchanges border on expository cliches, but impactful moments, subtle rivalries laced with humor, elevate the writing, blending whimsy with gravity for dialogue that lingers like an unanswered question. Studio Gokumi and Axe's animation flows with vibrant fluidity, particularly in food-serving sequences where colors pop like fresh produce, greens and golds symbolizing growth amid dungeon grays. Lighting shifts from warm glows during bonds to stark shadows and revelations, stillness in contemplative shots contrasting dynamic movements, shaping emotional impact as beauty that signifies resilience, not mere aesthetics, but a visual ode to life's persistence in odd forms. This episode etched a scar of empathetic ache, sparking wonder at the vastness of reincarnated fates. A climactic disclosure feels like destinies intertwining in ethereal fields, a breaking point that upends perceptions of isolation. I felt the pull of unbreakable ties, the sting of potential betrayal. What do we owe the bonds that sustain us? It whispers, in our own labyrinths, is reunion worth the ruins we leave behind? Through the reverse reading technique, I note flaws like rushed character introductions and opaque motivations, which might bewilder newcomers. Yet, these serve deliberate thematic opacity, mirroring the fog of moral choices. Complexity isn't a hindrance but a mirror to the dungeon's enigmas. Appreciation for heartfelt humor balances critique of tonal shifts. Overall, a layered episode that thrives in subtlety. Reborn as a vending machine, I Now Wander the Dungeon episode 7 shines in thematic profundity and character intimacy, its minor opacities reframed as invitations to ponder, triumphing in blending whimsy with weighty drama. This isn't mere adventure, it's a reflection of souls adrift, seeking connection. Will you heed the call of hidden fields, dispense your doubts, and venture into bonds that bind or break? Watch, and let the machine's hum guide your heart's wanderings.